Right. Hey, everybody. We are back. And as usual, I'm not sure if my live stream is working, so I'm checking on my phone to see if the stream works or not, particularly as OBS just crashed. So I'm waiting to see if it starts or not. I hope everyone is great. Ah, yeah, looks like we are live, and I'm frozen, which is kind of bad. Oh, no, it's fine. All right. So let me know if you hear me out. If not, please just scream. And yeah, let's start. So here's the thing. I proposed Juno to become a DAO through SNS sales that fails, and following that, it was a bit unclear to me what would be the next step for Juno. I could have gone for another SNS, but I was not sure it was the right time. I could have tried to hack a bit more, or I could have killed kind of Juno or deprecate Juno, as I always tell I would do if the sales wouldn't complete. So that were the option. And after a few days, actually, long story short, the Definitive Foundation reached out and they proposed to support the project and fund the project for a year after giving it so and be sure that it was like a no string attached agreement, like that they was really just sponsoring the project and not expecting anything else than discussing the roadmap and this kind of things. I accepted the proposal, which means that we're gonna build lots of stuff on Juno. And furthermore, I gonna soon start to work 100% of the time on Juno. So yeah, I'm really excited about it. Means that yeah, it's gonna be super fun. I still think that ultimately Juno should become a DAO because it's a bit aware that we promote full control for the developer, that each developer has a wallet, but that ultimately I'm the one that control the front end, or I'm the one that provide WASM. So that's a bit like, yeah, I don't know, it's something doesn't adds up, but maybe let's see how it goes. Maybe later on we do that again, we try again to do a DAO, but long story short, Juno is safe, Juno goes forward, and so do I, and so we are. So yeah, that's great news. I will communicate that once the call is done. But yeah, I hope you find it cool too. Great. So meaning that we go forward means we start Juno live again, and to continue what we have started with building that. You remember that Doodle-like application. I was thinking that to start again a bit slowly, let's say like that, we can spend the call today trying to build some end-to-end testing with a satellite and with internet identity, because at the foundation we have some tools that helps make that easy. And also last week in internet identity, they removed the need to have a CAPTCHA when you sign in locally, which is pretty nice. So yeah, I try to do that. All right, let's go. So here we have our Juno calendar app, right? And I'm gonna start it locally. So I start my, let's let's zoom a bit. I always forgot to zoom before starting the call. Yeah, way better. So we have our and let's start our front end, and we have our application. So nice. All right, so if here I wait for the backend to be up, I can sign in. Okay. So as a first step, maybe what we can set up is just being able to test that our app sign in, right? So to do that, we're gonna set up some Playwright test. All right, Playwright is an end-to-end testing tool that supports most or all browser, which is really nice. And if you have a Svelte app, this comes by default, but we can do the installation anyway. So let's do that. And we install the latest Playwright here. I want to put my test in end-to-end, just things I do, but also because here I'm gonna follow up like a setup I already have in another app. Add a GitHub action, I answer no. Install Playwright browser, I'm gonna say no because we're just gonna use Chrome. And it failed. Why then? Oh, I see. All right. Okay. So there was also like a new version of Agent.js that was released recently. So let's clean a bit things in our app. All right. So let me check what we have. Do we have any definity? We're gonna clean things a bit because it looks like it's a bit a mess. Why is that yours? Okay, so let's remove also this. All right, now we have a clean status, so let's install those last dependencies. Right. And this one. Right. So let's try again to set up a right in end-to-end. And no, no. Ah, nice. All right. So we have installed Playwright. So you see we have a demo test here. An example. Actually, we have two tests, which is nice. Oh, where do they put that? We have end-to-end and test examples. All right. And here we have a Playwright config. Okay. And yeah, I gonna override that with a configuration I have in this project because I know it works for Svelte. So let's take this Playwright config. So I go in my Playwright and let's start it. So just gonna do commands, gonna be npm run dev, reuse port, doesn't matter. So what do we have in our config? We have a web server that runs npm run dev if it doesn't exist yet. We want to run the test in end-to-end folder, which are this. We had a huge breakout. We're gonna have a look to that later. And we want to use Google Chrome. All right, so that's good. And I also gonna add we're gonna have this. So if I go right, okay, so we had just a end-to-end that starts the Playwright thing. So now if we do npm run end-to-end, our test should start exactly. All right, you see, and it has run the test. Okay, great. So I don't know what it's that. I'm gonna remove it, and I'm gonna move that e off. Yeah, let's make a pull request. Hop là. All right. Come on. All right. So here we have a pull request to set up the end-to-end testing. I'll put that in main. All right. So now we have our test, but what we want to do is, as you see, when I run the test, it runs the test again, the Playwright, because that's the default code. And we know that in our case, what we want to do is we want to go here, open that page, and click sign in. Okay? And then, of course, if I click sign in, then there is that whole flow that we need to test because I want to create a new identity, but I most probably don't want to do that. Like I don't want all the developer on the IC to have to build that flow. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna use a plugin that the foundation provides, which is called Internet Identity Playwright, that takes care of all the work when testing with internet identity. So we take this plugin, we install it. Okay, right. And we can start using it. So if we go here, we're gonna create, let's do like that. I'm gonna zoom as usual. Okay, I'm gonna remove this test and I'm gonna set up, let's call it authentication.spec.ts, right? That's gonna be our authentication test, and we import that plugin. What we do, we're gonna take this one. So what it does, it hides all the logic of working with two, it's gonna sign in with two, and gonna create a new identity when I call this page. So that's good. The only thing that I need to know, which is maybe, yeah, it's documented here. You see, it's gonna search for a button called login button. And it uses attribute selector. So that's why in our config, we had that test attribute things that is called data TID. So if I go now to my login button, I guess it's somewhere called sign in. Yes, right. So that's our button, right? So here we add data TID, which is called login button. You see here, now have the data TID there. All right. So if I start the test again, it fails. Nice. Why? Wait until load. Haha. All right. So let me check that. Test. So let maybe check this repository should have some tests too. Login. That should work. It's the same. But I have a before each. All right, let me check one more time. Cannot navigate to invalid URL. Navigate waiting until load. So here that. All right, and here. Oops, sorry. Here npm run dev. Okay. So technically that should work. I'm just gonna take that. I know what it is, just gonna explain it if it's the solution, but I doubt. All right. So he still had trouble doing that. So does that mean that here I should do something like that? Ah, yeah. Oh, all right, nice. Okay, so let's clean that. Here we're gonna say const root URL, or no, let's say app URL. That's it, tac, tac. All right. And I actually gonna remove this for now and explain you later. So what do I've done here? It's like I use that function that comes from the plugin. I go to the root of the application, and here I just sign in with the new identity. So here, if I do that again, sign in, which is nice. It's super. And then maybe we can let's add a test. Let's say we want to check if that button is present. So we give it a TID. Let's call it button create event. Okay. And here we're gonna do, let me check my tests here. So when I sign it up, I would expect that on the page there will be a button called what do you do? That is visible. Yeah, I don't know if it's a super test, but it's a test. Ah, you see, now he has waited. And another things that we can maybe do, screenshot. Let's maybe let's do it later. Anyway, so we're gonna commit that. Setup. No, it's test setup to login. Nice, huh? Test setup to login. Right. Okay, so I'm gonna merge that, and now what do we want to test? So if I sign up now with an empty or new user, we have nothing here, but what's faster? Here I got an issue, which is okay. I'm gonna try to fix that one another time. So yeah, what time is it? No, let's focus on something else first. All right, so we have our test running, but now it will be nice to have those tests that run every time I do a pull request, right? So that I ensure that I don't break anything. So the good things about that is that since Juno use Docker, there is not too much configuration needed to do that. Basically, we need to make a GitHub action that does a checkout, build, and start stuff. That's basically what we have to do. And something I need, like other things we did in the call, is something I need to document out as well, which I will do. So what we do is in my project, I add a GitHub folder, a workflows, and oh, can we call that? Yeah, that's nice. We're gonna call it end-to-end test.yaml. Okay. And let me check how does it look like, or if it's too complicated. Oh, this one it's not too bad. All right, so let's do that. We want to have end-to-end test that runs every time a pull request is made or when the workflow dispatch, when I manually start it, I run it with Ubuntu, and we start by a checkout. Once the checkout is done, what we want to do is we set up node 20. I'm good, and I install the dependencies. So it's basically like installing the dependencies, right? Once the dependencies are installed, so we don't care about that, we don't care about that. Setup end-to-end. Do I do anything particular here? Yeah. So we're gonna add this. I want to install the Juno CLI globally in my GitHub action because I'm gonna use that CLI to start the local replica. Actually, we could also not do that and just use Docker, but just gonna do it because it's fun. Let's call it like that. And here we gonna cache our Docker image. So blah blah on Docker and oh, all right. Once that is done, we can run the test. So I think that's maybe not the easiest way, internet identity Playwright. So that's what we done here. It's the same. All right. So I think it's at the root folder. We start the Juno CLI, Juno dev start. It's the same as I do here locally, except that I start here in endless mode and I don't wait for the completion. And then I run a new command, which is end-to-end CI that I'm gonna add here. So because we don't want to run Playwright with the window, we just want to run it in an headless mode. So here I'm gonna add this one that does Playwright test and reporter HTML. All right. And blah 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 blah. Where was I? Here was the sign. Tac tac tac. 2 seconds. So here. Oh, that's too complicated. We don't need all the stuff. I think at this point we just want to run the test and that's basically it. Yeah. Ah, we need this. And we need there. All right. So check out, setup node 20, install dependency, install Juno CLI, cache Docker image. Might need something in terms of the Docker cache. I probably need to review. And then here, Juno dev start, npm run nci. So let's push that in main. Not sure it's gonna work. We have to try. And if I go back to my things here, now we should have run end-to-end test, and here I should be able to run the test, maybe. All right, so let's see. And PMCI, which is good. Installing the Juno CLI. Once I have the proper YAML file, I should provide that similarly to what we have on the website for deploying. I can have a recipe just for end-to-end testing. Not the fastest installation ever, huh? All right. So it pulls Chrome. And that's the good thing is like if you use other browser, then you have to install those, but if you just pull Playwright, then it's fine. Ah, so all right. Ah, good. No, that's excellent. That's excellent. So everything worked out, but our test failed because the test starts by going to the page and try to open internet identity. And here it says, but I couldn't sign in. And the issue is that you see here the replica is starting, but maybe the replica is not yet mounted. So what we have to do is tell our test, wait until internet identity or another thing is ready so that we can start doing test. And that's what we're gonna do in our test. So if I go back to I think it's even in the recipe. I hope I did not forget it. Yeah, I have it here, but it's the same. So I take this piece of code and I go back to our test. So what it does, it's wait that URL, which is our Docker, and that's the canister ID of internet identity. Wait that this is ready, and when that it's good, then proceed with the rest. So test, wait for 2. Okay. So now, where was I? Here. If I set a pull request, the test will start, right? Yes. Let's see what it does. Hmm. Right. I got an issue with the Docker cache, but that's not something I can have a look when I polish the solution for the website. Right. You see this error, it's because the test is trying to access internet identity, but it's not yet there. And now it's there, and it should start the test. Everything is configured. Great. Yeah. And here that's why there was the error with the cache before. But the test went through. So once the cache is done, we have that setup that is already ready. Mhm. Just gonna wait a bit. But let's prepare another pull request here where let's say in another pull request to try to crash the test, I remove that particular create event things. Test CI, yeah, whatever. Just gonna wait for the cache. Okay. Meanwhile, what can I say? No, there is not much. So this plugin for Playwright really does like you can sign in with a new identity, but if you get back the identity, here it returns a number. If you save it, then you can follow up and do sign in with the same identity. That's possible. You can also provide your own selector. If, for example, you use another things that the data.thd, and if you have an old version of 2 locally that still require a CAPTCHA when you sign in, you can set it to true so that the plugin will try to create the CAPTCHA. All right, so here I should have merge 2. That works, right? Maybe, maybe not. Yes, we are good. And Okay, so now let's try to make, let's say we have make a pull request that contains an error and we want to test that. And this it should not be possible to merge the pull request, or at least it should end an error. I don't know how I configured my repo. Right, and from there, the cool stuff is that there isn't much more complicated things or setup that you need. Like, let's say you would like, for example, to set up this form and change the setting. You don't have any configuration because already is already available. You know, like if we do a bad name, it doesn't matter. Like if we have like should set user settings. Here we go, we sign up. Then we're gonna click settings, I guess. So I guess it's settings. So we're gonna say it's data.tid and button settings. So we're gonna have, what's it called again? I guess it's click, no? Yeah. So we're gonna have page get, what do I call it? Settings. Click, and once we are there, we want to enter your email address. So enter your email address. It's gonna be input field email. So is it dot field? By the way, you see here it failed because that button was not present. So our pipeline works, and this is in error, which is nice. Cool, huh? All right. So Playwright field input field. I never remember. So where was I? Here. So here we're gonna do await page. What's it called? Input email dot field test at test.com, and then we're gonna click save, which is here. Put on save settings. So save settings, and yeah, that should do. Oh, did I remove the start event button in my branch? Oh no. All right. Ah, yeah. That's a bit unfortunate. Let me do that. Main there again. So here we want this. Oh, that looks good, I think. Let me check. So here we have the two data.tid. Here you have our test, and that's that. So if we do it again, we have a test that tests that the login works, and we have another test that should enter the settings. Yeah, super. And yeah, and so on and so on. All right. I don't think we're gonna make any longer because we have discussed and seen what's need to be seen. So yeah, that's it for today's Juno Live. Once the call is finished, I will announce what I told you before. I have prepared a blog post and we'll spread a bit the word. And if no one has question, you can always ping me anytime. And we see each other again next week because, yeah, Journal Live is back. All right. Thanks, everybody, for joining the live stream and have a nice week.